What's happening? It's cap season a little bit. No, real talk though. Cap season is basically a sample platter of the type of content I want to offer starting in 2021. So, you want to see a multitude of things that's going to comprise of my content. It's Franco Elon, by the way. I'm in the building, as always. So starting out with this particular piece of content right here, behind the beat. Right now, I'm just kind of giving you some rationale as far as why I make certain decisions on the beat, why I pick certain samples, the context behind the samples, things of that nature. A little commentary. So this sample right here is by the Dales, or this song rather, is by the Dales. The love we had stays on my mind. If you ever dealt with heartbreak, you ever dealt with a tumultuous relationship with somebody, or just anything that's traumatic dealing with another person, this song hits home. You know what I mean? And I remember my mother went back and bought the CDs of her favorite albums in the 2000s. I would take these CDs and I would burn and rip those CDs onto the hard drive, and I would try to sample them in Fruity Loops. This was back in like 2000, 2001. So at the time, I didn't really have a good idea of tempo or counting bars, where to start a sample, where to end a sample, how to chop it. So I didn't learn that till around 2007 when I bought an MPC 1000 from Dirt Cheap Music, South Cobb Drive. You know what I'm talking about? I bought that, and I watched a guy named Booney Mayfield on YouTube. He was one of the first guys rocking beats out on YouTube. Brilliant person, saying in terms of his expertise and his style on the MPC. So I learned a lot from him, just watching him. So now I have my own method of, chopping samples and doing things how I want to do it. You feel me? But I'm a true millennial, man. I grew up on this type of music. My mother's a baby boomer, 1946. I'm 1982, so my father's a baby boomer as well, 1949. So that makes me by default an old soul. I grew up around folks from the silent generation as well as baby boomers. So I got a lot of context when it comes to this. So right now I'm just trying to put the pieces to the puzzle together, man. What samples go with what? What chops go with what? Does this make sense here? Should I eliminate this? Should I keep it? It's all a process, and it's very easy for you to get distracted or to lose inspiration during this process. And at that point, just get up and walk away from it. You don't want to force it. Actually, I had a somewhat of a difficult time with this the night before, so I got up, went to sleep on it, and when I came back home, I had what I wanted to sample in my head. So now I'm just kind of going through the process of making that happen. Finding different chop points. It's imperative that you put you start your chops at a particular point. It's got to make sense. You can't start that sample in the middle of a count. You got to start that sample at the right point so it keeps up with the tempo. Either you're going to chop it on the 2 or the 4. You may chop it on the 1. It's up to you how you want to chop it. I like to chop it on the 1 and 2, switch it up. So even though this particular song, this particular part of the song gives me good vibes, that's not the vibe I'm going for. So even though I'm playing it over and over again, because I'm like, can I make it work? Do I want to make it work? And it's just too down for me. I need something a little bit more upbeat. The song is already sad as it is. So yeah, I use Machine and I use Serato samples. So I use Machine to really lay my drums out, organize the content on my screen, but I use Serato sample, and I just started using that recently. But I use Serato sample so I can have more control of the chops and I can have more chops in my disposal. So I kind of use my keyboard as an ASR. ASR is an old school keyboard slash sequencer. Kanye West used the ASR. A lot of other famous producers used the ASR back in the day. So I treat my MIDI keyboard as an ASR with Serato sample. Yeah, if you don't know about Serato, I wouldn't say if you don't know about it, but if you don't use Serato sample and you sample, I would highly recommend it, because you can do so much more. You can be more creative with the stuff you have at your disposal. You have more. So I had to go handle some business. I'm back now. So now I got the pitch. I got the sample I want as far as how it's flowing. Now it's time to lay some drums down. So I thought about putting some 808s on here and, using a whole 808 kit, but I was like, you know what, I want to do something different. Kind of like a rim shot snare. Nice little full kick with some little oomph into it. And some hats. That's it, An open hi-hat. And it's important when you place those elements, because it can make or break a song. So kind of pay attention to that. With this particular sample, what I wanted to do was take the kick and just kind of follow what the sample is already doing, and maybe add in a kick to kind of fill some space. But for the most part, my kick pattern is dictated by the sample itself. So I didn't use this cadence. I'm just playing around right here. I always imagine myself at a lunch table when I'm making these beats. You know how it is, As an old school millennial, that's what we did. We made beats on the lunch table. And I think my generation did it the best. Yeah. So I'm just trying to make sure I don't want to use any other drum cadence. It's all trial and error. You just mess around, play around, have fun, be creative. At this point, I'm feeling the sample. I'm feeling the way it's moving. I'm feeling the way it's grooving. So now, whatever I do, I just can't go wrong as far as inspiration. Like, I'm not going to lose it at this point. I'm locked in. So I added some other elements. If you hear that airy sound, that's some arcade, output arcade, I would highly recommend people use that as well. If you're looking for other melodies, if you're looking for other samples to fill in with your original sample. Arcade output or output arcade rather, is a good investment. I also use Splice for my sounds. Making beats is really about the sounds you have at your disposal, That's one of the ways you can keep your inspiration, by simply having good sounds on deck. I remember when I first started making beats in 2000, man, you had to use what was available. You had to use stock Fruity Loop sounds, and you know, stock Fruity Loop sounds in 2000. I mean, you made it do what it do because you know, you didn't have a choice. Luckily, I had a homeboy by the name of Antonio. And Antonio bought me a vinyl CD with a whole bunch of sounds on there. That was like the first time I used sounds from an external source. That was back in like 2003, 2004. But before that, man, you had to use your own. You had to use sounds from Fruit Loops and just make it happen and be as creative as possible. So I recommend you get some sounds, because the stock sounds, even today, the stock sounds, you know, they're not enough. So I'm trying to cut some things, truncate those hats. So I use a hi-hat loop pattern. I put a filter on that to give that little hissy sound. That's a high-pass filter, so I took the lows out. So it just flows better with the track, in my opinion. You win some and you lose some. So a lot of folks may take issue with how I chop samples because I'm essentially I'm looping.
Shit ride to me.
It does ride, you're right. But I'm looping a sample. So a lot of folks, when they chop it to the point where it loses the original feel of the sample. So they make their own rendition. I like to pay homage to sample. I like to let you know what I'm sampling. You know what I'm talking about? Let this sample breathe, you feel me? That's my thing. Put that Pimp C on there. One of my favorite rappers of all time. Hey, fuck, dog, hey. Yeah, for real though, cap season, baby. I'm coming.